Hi everyone, so this is a reading for September about predictions and just the general energy and what's good for the month, what's bad for the month. Last month was definitely disruptive, which is what I titled the video for last month. This month will be much nicer, is what I'm getting. Um, because there's so much that happened last month and I kind of want to go over it. I'll probably make a separate video after this video where I go over last month's reading and kind of what it all means and kind of how it all played out. But for this video, I'm just going to talk about September and what I see coming up for us for the next month. So let me go ahead and get right into it. So I already did the reading. So I'm just going to be reciting kind of what came to me. So the first thing that I saw, and when I kind of visualized it, I kind of saw a door, and it was like the door opened, and it was just like this very happy scene with a. It was like a sun with sunglasses on, and so it was very mellow in some sense was the vibe, but also the sense of celebration and like a sun with sunglasses on that kind of says it right there. I don't think I really need to explain too much more about that. I think you get the gist. I was getting a sense of contentment and like a mellow celebration, if that makes any sense. I did get the sense that there's going to be a lot of activity on some level, but it's not going to be like chaos like August was. But I saw a vision of lots of cars that were all jammed up, and it's like everybody's trying to get on the same road all at once, and traffic's backed up. But instead of people honking their horns, and instead of there being chaos, there's this general sense of cooperation for this month. So it's a good month. I think it's going to be a lot better than the previous month, which was disruption, is what I called it. And so it's something to be looking forward to. I saw this jammed up group of cars, just what kind of looked like chaos, but everyone was cooperating and everyone is organizing together to be able to let traffic go in a very efficient way that was a much more content type of vibe. Everybody was happier, I should say. Um, when I asked a little bit more about what's going to happen, like with politics or Joe Biden specifically, I saw Joe Biden came up and he was kind of embarrassed. Like last month, I said he was gonna be there's gonna be something that doesn't quite destroy him, but it puts him back a bunch. That definitely happened with Afghanistan, and so in this month, I saw him being kind of embarrassed from that, um, and some people are saying that he's gonna like bad things are gonna happen to him, etc. I don't see bad things happening to him, at least for September. I see him still being, you know, in charge, and I don't see Kamala Harris kind of stepping in and stealing the spotlight either. I see him still having the spotlight, but he's not gonna be he's not gonna be like there's not going to be a big spotlight on him or anything like that, but he is still the one in the front of the news within the White House. I don't see a lot of these theories of Kamala Harris kind of taking over. Maybe in the future, but definitely not for September. And I don't think that's necessarily going to happen in the future either. But we'll see. So politics, when I was tuning into politics, I didn't really see too much going on. And that's a good thing, in my opinion. It seemed like a much more calm, peaceful kind of vibe, and usually peace means that there's not much political activity going on. I did tune into the Taliban specifically, just very quickly for the month of September, and I saw the Taliban keeping an eye on women and kind of keeping an eye on people in general and making sure that they comply to the Taliban's authority. But I didn't see the Taliban doing anything drastic or changing policy or doing anything abrupt or unexpected. So it was kind of uneventful. And I just got the general sense that as long as people are, complying with their authority, then everything will go well for them, at least for now. Um, when I tuned into the future of this situation, I got that the Taliban will be trying to kind of keep the peace in this sense rather than being as extreme and imposing extreme rules over people like they have in the past. It's going to be less like that. However, in the future, I do see problems with resources, um, food, money, being able to fund their whole government and economy. I'm seeing those problems causing them to kind of grind the gear, so to speak, to really expect and demand more from people, and people in the country of Afghanistan really having a rough time. And I see, women crying and wanting to escape the country, and it getting kind of ugly further down the road, like possibly years down the road once the problems set in. But for September, I don't see there being much going on. Um, I just kind of allowed myself to tune into just the world and like what's going on in different countries. Is there anything specific? And what I was drawn to, of course, was Russia. I saw it as this emerald green vibration, and it looked like a very healthy, vibrant vibration, and it looked like people were actually doing very well in Russia, or I should say the general vibration of the country itself. And this isn't necessarily political, this is more just, you know, the energy of the people. So that was very pleasant. When I tuned into China, though, that there seemed to be a little bit more of a problem going on. I saw governmental and economic struggles going on. Specifically, the pressure being mounted on the individual citizens having to comply with these pressures, whatever those may be. So I see that being difficult for the people living in China. Not necessarily the government itself, more so the people living underneath the government. When I tuned into the US, I saw more of a positive contentment, and it came in as this solid sapphire blue vibration, and it just had a very general sense of well-being, which is nice. And I'm not saying there aren't going to be, problems. Obviously, there's always going to be problems, and that these issues coming from, what happens in August isn't gonna, affect the next month. However, the new energy coming in is much more positive. So I did something different because it felt like there wasn't that much going on in the world besides for just this kind of like contentment. And I got the sense that there's something changing, like vibrationally, on the planet. So I tuned into that more, and what I got was that there's a cosmic event happening with the Earth. And I'm not saying this is just now starting. I think this has been going on for a little while, but right now or coming up here for the month of September, this is really going into full gear, and there's some sort of shift within the energy that's affecting the planet. And this is going to be a little far out there, but I'm just going to say what I saw. So it starts with there's just this blue energy being funneled to the earth, and this energy is the energy of patience, of calmness, kind of peace, tranquility, and compassion. Very positive things, very healing to the earth, kind of what we need as a species to evolve and thrive. And I'm seeing this being funneled to Earth from these alien beings. Now, these alien beings are not necessarily doing it out of the goodness of their heart. I got the sense that it was more like a kind of mechanical sense of their intentions, more of a calculated perspective, where they're coming from, why they're doing this. They're really more so like working for a higher power. Well, I don't mean like they're working for God necessarily. What I mean is they're working for other beings, and this is kind of like their job, so to say, or so to speak. I don't know if they're getting paid for it, but it's like kind of this is their duty. And so the purpose of this is to smooth the rough edges of what's going on in the earth, and because there's so much kind of just like jagged energy, so to speak, and just kind of chaos going on in the earth, that it's not it's not helpful for spiritual growth, in the sense that if you were raising a child, you wouldn't want to raise that child in utter chaos, because they're not going to grow, they're not going to thrive, they're not going to evolve properly or in the way that you would want in that environment. So humanity is kind of reaching this point where things are kind of turning sour energetically, or it has been, I should say, for a while, and it's gotten to the point where this is more so necessary. And in the past, what I was seeing was that these beings would allow humanity to kind of mess up, kind of cause chaos, kind of like you would want a child to experience consequences in their life. You can't always hold your child's hand while they do everything in their life, otherwise they're never going to grow up and assume responsibility and evolve into an adult. And so, and for that same reason, they were allowing humanity to make mistakes and learn from it and grow. But at a certain point, there had to be an intervention. And this is more of an energetic intervention than anything else. The reason for this all is not for the beings who are doing it, but it's for a bigger plan, like an interconnected plan, and it's bigger than just the Earth. The Earth is just like part of the plan, and it's not really, the plan isn't revolving around the Earth either. The plan is for something else, a big interconnected kind of cosmic universe where other beings live. And just like you don't want, you know, terrorists to grow out of control and take over the world, you don't want negative energies of neighboring planets to grow and start negatively affecting the energy that affects your part of the universe. And so this is, and it's also for just creating harmony in general, so that they can kind of expand their interconnectedness, to create more interconnectedness of a harmonious vibration. And so smoothing out the roughness, and bringing things back to a little bit more balance and comfort, I guess you could say, for their sake. And that's what's going on here. It's not so much out of the love of the hearts of the creatures doing it. It is, but it isn't. If that makes any sense. So this energy is definitely affecting this month, or I mean, sorry, September coming up here, which affects kind of everything that I was reading. So when I asked, okay, so what is this month good for? What I got was that this month is good for patience. So when there are things that you know, may feel that you have better things to do, um, now is the month to focus on those things that you may normally kind of push to the side. The things that you may not want to do because they feel meticulous, those are the things that you'll now have the patience to withstand. And the meticulous kind of actions in your life that you would normally hate, there's this new energy that kind of makes them more enjoyable on some level. So I saw a vision of someone watering their garden and like talking to their plants and kind of really connecting with their plants and connecting more with nature as well. And that really being something that really works for people this month. So that might be something to, try and work into your schedule if possible. I also saw this month being really good for just general compassion towards people, animals, nature, whatever. And specifically, I saw someone on the phone with their like grandmother, elderly people like that who you may want to show a little more care for and kind of do something to help them out. This month seems to be good for that. Um, the other thing for this month is that there's the kind of like big deals that people have been kind of scrambling to get done, and this is a month to put that aside and kind of let the dust settle, so to speak, so that you can focus on more what's in front of you, what's present, kind of things like cleaning your house, reorganizing your possessions, and kind of putting the love back into the things that before may have been kind of annoying, like maybe chores or the details in your life that you don't value. They don't seem to be a big priority in your life. So those things are taking more priority. The things that were big priority, it's kind of shifting, and now the details are more. You're starting to see how details actually matter more. Another thing that came to me was this month is good for being the tortoise rather than the hare, with the story with the tortoise versus the hare. And other months are different, where you want to be focusing on the big pictures, the go-getter type of energy, but this is not so much that month. So when I tuned into what is bad for this month, what I got was someone on a high dive jumping off the high dive. And so this is about pushing yourself, kind of taking the high dive, going for a long jump, that type of activity, that type of energy is not necessarily what this month is good for. And impressing other people as well is not going to resonate as well with this month. Not that anything bad is going to happen to you, but what I did get was that if you're, focusing on getting yours, so to speak, getting what's good for you, on an individualistic level, you can get yours this month, so to speak, but you're gonna actually miss the bigger picture, which is this interconnected energy. So you may be focusing on, getting your whatever success that you want, like, I don't know, getting a car, or getting a bunch of money, or winning some sort of prize, or even making your dreams happen, which could be a great thing. But if that happens, it's very likely this month for you to look out the window and see everybody else kind of working together and having a great party together, and realize that you kind of missed out on that party. And so that's why it showed up as not the type of thing that's going to work as well for the energy of this month in particular. So some more details about this month coming up, September 2021. I saw like kind of like a graph, and it looked like kind of halfway through the month there's like this peak of like kind of like excitement, and it kind of goes back down, and then 3/4 of the way through the month it kind of goes back up again. So I estimated that that was around the 22nd to the 25th or so of September, where I see it really spike and then it comes back down again towards the end of the month. But this spike of excitement is just kind of like novelty and new ideas, and being inspired by like a new perspective, because there's a lot of this new energy kind of changing perspective, changing the vibe of the planet. And so that's going to be creating a lot of this forward thinking, inspiring excitement. It's going to kind of peak around the 22nd to the 25th of the month. Another thing related to what's going on in the month is the idea of, and this is something that I kind of came up with on my own, the idea of evolution versus revolution. And the idea that we all need a revolution in order to evolve, but it's possible that we need an evolution in order to have a successful revolution. And that seems to be what's happening this month. It's not that the energy is focused on revolution and like fighting for your rights and like fighting for change. It's kind of the opposite. It's that there's a new energy that's coming in. It's kind of what I guess pacifists use as a way to justify their philosophy, which I'm not saying is good or bad. I'm just saying this is the energy behind it. It's the idea that you kind of just have to let people evolve to a higher consciousness, a higher vibration, before real change can happen. And it seems that that's what this month is about the evolution rather than the revolution, if that makes sense. Not that you don't need both in some situations, just that that's the energy of this month in particular. Next month might be the other way around, but that's how it is coming up for September. Another thing, and this is very inspiring about the month of September, is I saw a vision of an owl that was representing people kind of in the dark, kind of like the saying that came into my mind was out of the shadows into the light. And so it was this owl who was kind of poking its head up and looking around and seeing all the people on the beach having fun and playing and intermingling and kind of just reaching this new vibration of compassion and interconnectedness and acceptance of one another. And this owl is seeing that, and it's just bringing delight to its eyes, and being able to just be there and kind of creep its way out into that experience and be able to be in that new vibration. I also saw this for this month as bats flying out and cobwebs being cleared out, metaphorically, which represents kind of like the recluse type archetype living in a basement, kind of crawling out of the basement, being exposed to a new and exciting world. So in some sense, this is transforming the negative into positive. So kind of like the secretive, antisocial, I would say even corrupt mentality is kind of being exposed to this newer, higher vibration and able to embrace it more and transform. So there's a lot of individualized transformation going on. And it's not so much like world events, but it's more like internal events. So that's the reading for the month of September 2021. I will be doing because there's so much from last month, I will go over my predictions from last month and kind of what it all means in a video. I think I'll probably post that tomorrow just so that I don't post too many videos at once. But thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up if you like it. Subscribe if you haven't. And if you want to learn more about me, I'll post my website below this video. I do private readings, I do energy healings, etc., etc. So thanks for watching and have a great day.